In working in the church for the past 20 plus years, first for a large parish, then a diocese, I've developed a passion for small group studies. I've seen firsthand how they deepen faith and build up community. But I've also noticed a persistent need, and that's what led me to write the Discipleship series. Most small group resources, Bible studies for example, focus on a learning experience that leans a bit toward the academic. Now there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's great, but something more is needed as well. Consider Jesus' words in Matthew 25, where he gives us the very basis for admission to heaven. He says, "Inherit the kingdom, for I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. A stranger, and you welcomed me. Whatever you did for the least of these my brethren, you did for me." It was a deacon who first brought this need to my attention when he met with a men's group in the parish where I worked. The group had been meeting regularly for several years. So he first congratulated them, but then he added, "I think it's time for something more, something that takes your group outside of itself in love of neighbor." When I heard that, it's like a light came on in my head, and I thought, of course, that's at the very heart of the gospel. How is it that I've missed that for so long? So that became the trigger for writing the Discipleship series. And as I began to write, I tried to keep in mind 5 key realities. First of all, people are incredibly busy. Their calendars are overflowing. If you ask them to participate in a study with maybe 20 meetings lasting a couple of hours each, that can be simply overwhelming for many of them. So I decided the Discipleship series resources should be compact, 6 sessions each with a proposed meeting length of about 90 minutes. Second, depth matters more than volume. I wanted to emphasize deep reflection on a few scriptural themes rather than covering lots of ground. Mostly I've focused on the Gospels, with each session typically beginning with an encounter with Jesus or with one of his parables. Then brief quotes from the Catechism and recent popes help to flesh out the theme of that session. The third key reality is that nothing inspires like true stories. At the center of each session is a brief story of a man or woman touched by God's grace and further illustrating the theme of the scripture. This may be a saint or blessed like Francis of Assisi or Mother Teresa, or it may be someone who's come from darkness and sin into the light of Christ, like Norma McCorvey, the Jane Roe of Roe v. Wade. These stories are unquestionably the highlight of the Discipleship series for most people, based on a great deal of feedback I've received. I've tried to make these figures come alive on the page so the reader could almost reach out and touch them. I also wanted to focus on ways that they evidenced love of neighbor to help inspire the Discipleship series' modest component of service. The fourth key reality is a small group resource is only as good as its discussion questions. In the end, we have to be able to answer the question, what does this have to do with me? And finally, people will find joy in a service component as long as they don't feel they're being pressured or checked up on. For the Discipleship series, I decided to propose 1 to 2 hours per month of service, broadly defined as any way that a person gives of themselves for the benefit of others. Even the most menial service can be offered through Christ and from the heart. People who are already giving service can consecrate a couple of hours of what they're already doing rather than feeling like they need to add more. And even if some people may take a little time to fully respond to the service component, the program inevitably nourishes a warmer awareness and care for the needs of their neighbor. Feedback has shown me that the Discipleship series works well across a large age spectrum. Adults, young adults, new converts, and even high school youths and confirmation candidates. Because it's very compact, it's also been used successfully as a resource of renewal for parish staffs, councils, and committees, as well as Catholic school administrators and teachers. It's also been used in jail ministry, and the most touching testimonial that I've received by far is from a group of inmates that was trying to figure out ways to be of service to each other in jail. So I invite you to try the Discipleship series and to see why so many people have found these resources to be manageable, inspiring, and a source of real joy for them personally and for the parish communities to which they belong. To see samples from the books or testimonials or materials for launching the program, you can visit my website, ChristpherRuff.com, or the website of Catholic Word, CatholicWord.com.